Hi, this is Save Democracy, and I'm the host and creator, Katherine Davies. This week's a quick check-in with the state of things, where we are and what might be important to draw attention to. In the news of late, you may have noticed the rising prospects of the hard right in France, or the harder right in Germany, or the rising support for one nation in Australia. And in other countries around the world, autocrats are tightening their grip. Like me, you might be feeling the weight of the world. Here on Save Democracy, we don't pretend these trends don't exist. In fact, we value remaining aware. And I have a formidable guest joining us soon to lay out what autocratic forces are up to, utilising the latest AI tools and much more. But I find it helpful to remember something closer to home, and I'm just going to reflect on that, and I hope it's useful. Yes, we need to be aware, or we are in danger of being manipulated. Yes, we need to play a part in some way, fitted into our lives, to help breathe life into our democracies. Yes, the news overall is not good. But I tell myself something simple. There are two ways to get out of bed. What does doom and gloom feel like if I dwell on it? How does that make me feel? What does that turn me into? How do I start the day? How am I when I interact with others? What example do I set? Now, what if I lie in bed before I get up and reflect on my blessings? That unlike Ukraine, there were no sirens in the middle of the night warning me the Russians may bomb my home or my family. My bed is comfortable, it's quiet, the morning air is cool, I am alive and well, and so much more. The list of blessings could fill a very boring book, but I only need to reflect on a few to bring me to the right state, productive, aware, calm, energized, and no one can penetrate this state with fear and othering. It will not get through. How do those words sound? How do they make you feel? It's funny how we forget how much we affect each other. And what do the fearmongers want? Part of the autocratic toolkit is to spread fear and to depoliticize us, to make us feel that there's no point, indifference. Russia, for example, is currently a depoliticized society. And where does that get you? To be completely passive. Where does that get your children and their world? Motivation's a funny thing. When I hear that autocrats spread fear, it makes me a little fearless. It just inspires a kind of quiet strength. What about you? So here at Save Democracy, we recognise the power of state, how important it is to stay in a good state. It's why we keep on the pod a calm tone, episodes short, focus on the key things to be aware of, and find inspiring defenders of democracy, because inspiration is a beautiful fuel for helping us stay in a good state. We seek to navigate a path through all the noise, all the bad news, highlighting the work of democracy's defenders and how we can play a part effectively. What I like to bring to the table, what my role is here, is to deeply appreciate what matters to us or attempt to, and why. To feel the gratitude and the connection to the past and present and future generations when we stand in these values. The power of example, the inspiration of civic virtue, the fun of working with others on a good cause, the realization that at the kitchen table, in the workplace, in the community centre, under the fears and noise and fatigue, if we're really listening, the fundamental thing we express by what we do or say or don't do or say, the fundamental underlying need is love. We can call it many things. Connection, being seen, acknowledged, valued, generous, caring, kind, being present. But love it is. And love it will always be, at least at my table, and I imagine yours too. And if you think of the millions and billions of souls in the world who care about love, family, fresh air, unpolluted rivers, that our kids do well, that we have food on the table, and our community suffers less, that's a lot of feet. And we can stand for what matters. That's something to fear. The power of our love. Our podcast is growing, and we've launched on Substack, where I've just started writing articles and we're starting a chat. I encourage you to subscribe, it's free, and to join the chat. You'd be very welcome. I'd love to hear your thoughts, as would other listeners, and we'll be keeping a close eye on the chat to ensure it stays a safe space, positive and constructive. It'll be our kitchen table, if you like, so make yourself a cup of tea and join in. Also, we're putting the final touches to a guide to engaging based on all the great ideas from our guests. Our Substack subscribers will receive a free copy of the guide. A final word on the pod. We've been running on a weekly timetable, weekly release, getting great guests on the key issues and meeting high standards in audio and video, aiming to at least. But we have been running the risk of falling into a heap to make that happen, especially as we're new and few people have heard of us, so we cannot get financial support and sponsorship until our audience grows. We're going to keep the high quality going forward, and we are not going to risk that by trying to meet an arbitrary weekly deadline. So just to say, sometimes it'll be weekly, sometimes less often, but we'll always focus on quality. And we humbly beseech you to please help us by spreading the word. Before I go, I'd like to mention a few of the bright spots in the news. So it appears that the Ukrainians have been given permission to build the air defences they desperately need, which required US approval. Whatever happens next, that is huge for Ukrainians, as they have been running out of defences for the air, with tragic consequences for their citizens. And a sweet moment this week in the UK, when an entrepreneurial populist, under pressure and under investigation over failure to declare a £5 million gift from a crypto billionaire, resigned his seat, only to say he will run again in the same seat in a by-election he caused, which costs the taxpayer more than £250,000. So the people can decide his fate, in effect sidestepping institutional oversight. And then, in a sweet moment, all the major political parties here refused to participate in the by-election. Marvellous. My warmest thanks for your support. Bye for now.